A model engine. City of Truro had arrived with the Railway Society. He'd spent the morning being photographed and was now enjoying reprieve from the crowds.
I'm honored to be thought of in such high regard, he told Duck, but I do prefer the company of engines, especially a Westerner like yourself.
Duck was flattered. Suddenly, he noticed a small boy running towards them.
Seems they find you no matter where you go,
Duck chuckled. The boy ran right up until he was almost at their buffers.
Hello, Mr. City of Truro, sir. I can't believe it's really you.
In his hand, the boy held a small model replica of the famous engine.
My word, smiled Truro. That's quite an impressive model, young man. Did you build it yourself?
Yes, cried the boy. Well, with a little help from my dad. You're our most favorite engine ever.
Just then, a man came running over to the boy's side.
Steward, what have I told you about running off? You have to be careful in a rail yard.
I'm sorry, Dad. I only wanted to show Mr. City of Truro our model.
The man looked up, not having noticed Truro at first, and beamed.
It is an honor to see you in person, he said. Sorry for the trouble. The honor is all mine, sir, Truro smiled. Your son has quite the talent.
He looked back to the boy.
I do hope you'll continue to practice your craft, young man. There are many famous engines waiting to be modeled, like Duck here.
Duck blushed at the praise.
Could we make Mr. Duck next, Dad?
The boy asked excitedly.
Certainly, his father smiled. If that's all right with you, Duck.
I'd be delighted, Duck replied. With that, the boy and his father said their goodbyes and walked to the station.
You know, Truro said wistfully, enthusiasts are all well and good, but it's the young rail fans that truly make these tours worthwhile.
Henry was resting in a siding nearby. He'd heard everything, and suffice to say, he was green with envy. What's that Duck ever done to deserve such attention, he fumed. If any engine on this railway deserves a model, surely it's me. Come now, Henry, said Edward. You've had books written about you. That's more than most engines can say for themselves. Yes, books are all fine and well, Henry said dismissively. But imagine, a replica of a triumphant engine like me, running round a little railway in the home of every boy and girl. Doesn't that sound grand? Edward didn't wish to argue, so he went quietly back to work. Soon, Henry's crew arrived to ready him for his next train. Guess what, old boy, said the driver. We're taking a train tomorrow for the Railway Society. They specifically requested you take it. A special train? Henry exclaimed. Just what I need. This'll show those rail fans who really deserves a model. Henry was excited for the rest of the day. He bragged endlessly about special trains and model replicas. He was still boasting when the day's work was done. Good gracious, sighed Duck to Truro. I'm sorry you have to witness this. I thought Sodor engines would act more dignified in the presence of an honored guest.
Well, when you've traveled as much as I have, you find this behavior exists on all railways, Truro chuckled.
Suddenly, the shed was silent. Henry had talked himself to sleep. Henry woke next morning to find warmth spreading through his boiler. He yawned and was about to say good morning when he heard snickering from within the shed. He found the others looking at him with wicked smiles. "What's gotten into you lot?" he asked. His driver walked up, trying to stifle a laugh. "Not you too," huffed Henry. The fireman came round and held up a mirror. "What is the meaning of this?" Henry thundered. A boxy wooden structure clung to his smokebox and running boards. "It seems some details were missed about today's special train," the fireman giggled. "This is equipment engineers use to test an engine's performance," the driver explained. "The Railway Society heard about your rebuild and asked if they could monitor how well you run. That's why they chose you." Henry scowled. Duck and Truro tried to stay composed, but Gordon and James were in hysterics. Henry spent the day traveling up and down the main line with the stopping service. The members of the Railway Society took turns riding in the wooden structure and monitoring his performance. They had a wonderful time, but Henry just felt silly. "Have you left Henrietta behind today, Toby?" called Gordon as he thundered by. "Oh, never mind. It's only you, Henry. Ha 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 ha." Much to Henry's relief, the engineering equipment was removed when the day was done. No one said a word as he backed into the shed. They just smirked at him. He felt very annoyed. Next morning, as the engines were being readied, Duck noticed the little boy and his father walking towards the shed. "Hello," he smiled. "It's nice to see you again. You haven't made a model of me already, have you?" "Sorry, Duck," the man said. "Your model is on hold. A more pressing project presented itself." Duck was puzzled. "What sort of project, sir?" "Go on, Stuart," he urged the boy. "Show them." The boy held out his hand. "Look, Mr. Henry," he said proudly. "It's you." Henry was speechless. It was a model of him, all right, but it was fitted with the engineering equipment. "You were certainly one of the more, interesting engines we'd seen yesterday," confessed the man. "So, you got your wish after all, Henry," winked Edward. "What do you think of that?" "I know one thing," Henry scowled. "I'm glad the thin clergyman isn't around to see this." Everyone laughed.